My guest at this time will be the host of MLW Embedded, making its debut tonight on Vice TV as part of MLW Fightland. It's Alicia Atout. Alicia, welcome back to the Wrestling Inc. Daily.
Hi, I'm so excited to be back. How are you?
I'm great. You know, we were bonding before recording over all the floral patterns that we have going on right now between the two of us. It's really good energy in the air right now.
Oh, definitely. It's a good vibe. We always vibe. I'm excited about it.
Yeah. Hey, before we get into MLW Embedded and all the fun Vice stuff, like you've been, how long have you been with MLW now? About a year?
2 years come December?
2 years. That's right. The pandemic time, it all just feels weird. So
Yeah.
you've really become a big face for their company, Alicia. Like, talk just a little bit about like how have these last 2 years been with you, kind of growing with MLW?
It's been wild, especially when it comes to being an interviewer. For me, I always wanted to sign somewhere, but I never knew if anyone would accept me or want me because when it comes to signing somewhere, wrestlers, there's so many per roster. Meanwhile, interviewers, there's one or two. So when they approached me and said, "Hey, we want to lock you down," and it all just made sense. I was so excited, but I never thought it would get to the point where I would become so much more than an interviewer and be worked into so many different storylines and be in the middle of posters and promotions and have press days. Like it's absolutely wild just being treated as talent, someone else in the locker room. And I really appreciate them for that. So I never quite expected it to just gel this well because you hear about people signing places and you just hear nightmare stories. And for me it's just been so smooth sailing. Anytime we're doing something and I have advice, they always openly take it and vice versa. So it's just we're talking about vibes, and MLW, it's just a good vibe all around. Love the locker room, I love my bosses, and now all these opportunities with Vice, it's just continuing to grow into something amazing.
Yeah, so you have obviously a lot of success doing interviews, producing your own content. With MLW Embedded, this is, very different concept from what a lot of the wrestling
Yes.
companies are doing. You guys are going to be talking MLW news, non-MLW news. What fingerprints do you have on this? Are you just on air talent? Are you helping produce this? Do you have ideas for MLW Embedded that you got to kind of infuse with what MLW had in mind for the segment?
So I will be the official host for the
Oh,
brand new segment. So I'm sitting down with all of the talent that we are bringing on. And in terms of people who are on the show, it's really just the hottest journalists and analysts within the wrestling business. And we're going to be changing that up every single time, which is super exciting. New names, keeping it fresh. And we go into unknown territory in wrestling. I don't really know about a roundtable that is put within a wrestling brand or promotion show where they talk about other companies. It's kind of like that forbidden thing where you don't mention, it's all hush hush, but we don't beat around the bush here. We don't tiptoe. We're getting right down into it. We're talking about the hottest topics within wrestling, and it's all airing within our own brand, being MLW. And the beauty of it too is, of course, we are talking about some controversial topics, things that are just buzzing at the moment, but there's also going to be a lot of breaking news, like on the one that'll be airing during Fightland tonight. I break some huge news about a huge star who's going to be debuting within the company this fall. And hands down, one of my favorite wrestlers, yet alone, and this is not just my words, coined by many, one of the best wrestlers in the world at this very moment will be coming to MLW. So I am so excited. The news will be broken tonight, and I think everyone's in for a treat.
okay, so it's a mix of punditing about top news of the day, and also
Yeah.
apparently making some big news out of the show itself. The big name
Yes.
coming to ML. You're not going to tell us here who it is. I
Oh
take it.
no, you'll have to tune into the show. Tune into Fightland.
I tried.
You
Um,
tried.
so what? So this is a very kind of dangerous environment. When you're allowed to talk openly about the business, especially not your company's business. Did you have any guardrails? Was there anything court wanted you guys to stay away from, or what's the
No.
what's the
The
standby?
beauty
Yeah.
the real beauty of the show is nothing is off limits. We don't have to tiptoe around anything. We're given a topic and then it's just open discussion. And the way that I've kind of been sharing the whole vibe is just chatting with some of my friends by the bar about wrestling topics, and I love that because my interviews, just the way I approach conversations in general, is just to have fun with it and make them very conversational instead of just like cut and dry. So it was fun for me to be able to be myself and have this new segment, but at the same time hear other people's opinions. Sometimes our guests were on the same page, sometimes they did not agree on things, and that made it really heated and exciting. And we're sitting down, like I said, with some of the biggest names in terms of journalists. We have Dave Meltzer, who's a part of it, someone you might be a little familiar with in Raj Giri, Andreas Hale, along with Emilio Sparks. So that was the first panel we had, stacked with talent and names, and it's only going to get crazier from here. So it's a taboo concept in wrestling, but at the same time, I feel like it's needed. It's exciting.
Raj Giri? Never heard of him.
Never heard of him?
No, that's awesome. That's really cool getting to be in the mix there. And for you, you've been an interviewer for so long. How is it you have to pundit now and give your thoughts on all these topics? I mean, it's an easy way to get in trouble, Alicia.
I mean, it is, but at the same time, when your boss is encouraging it, I'm thinking to myself, this is great. This is wild. And again, I'm a really positive person. So even though we are talking about different names and different companies and different wrestlers who belong to different promotions, by no means is the whole point of the show to badmouth anybody, but it is to spill some tea. And we have people, like I mentioned, these names I said prior, they know everything going on within the wrestling world, so they're able to kind of give scoops on things as well. And the whole point isn't to bash anything, but it's to discuss things that are happening and things that other companies just don't talk about. So it was really fun. It was eye-opening, and like I said, there was a lot of news that was shared that I think people are going to really enjoy.
So it's going to be like a halftime show, right? So it's like you get like front half is going to be action. Then there's like this halftime break where you all get together, pundit, talk news, break news, and then back to the action. Do I get that right?
Exactly. And we have two great events that are going to be happening during Fightland. So, of course, we have the massive main event, which is for our world championship against it's Fatu facing one-on-one against Hammerstone. And then we have a fantastic middleweight championship match, which had Myron, Tajiri, which is insane, Aramis, and then Aries, who are just like two of the best luchadors I've ever seen live. So yeah, it's a stacked show, and then you have us in the middle giving you all of the news, all these scoops, and just our opinions on some really neat stuff happening in the world of wrestling.
So two big matches that we featured with this in the middle, if I get that right.
Yes,
that leaves a lot on the cutting room floor from Fightland. I know there was a lot of other great action as well. Are you optimistic about more MLW specials like this after Dark Side of the Ring? I mean, it seems like a format that wouldn't be too difficult to replicate, I guess.
Yeah, I know that this is definitely something that they're hoping to do in the future. The response from everyone has been great. It was so much fun working with the Vice team, and I think it flows really beautifully with their channel, because growing up when I watched Vice, it was all about those crazy documentaries and them giving scoops on everything. So we're kind of having like our own little MLW Vice show in the middle of our huge shows. And again, Fightland's going to be the first ever wrestling event that airs on Vice TV too. So there's a lot of exciting little pieces to this one big show, and I just think they're going to be in for something that's wild.
Dark Side of the Ring is a very interesting program. Do you watch Dark Side of the Ring every week like everybody else?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, like, how happy are you that you were not on the plane ride from hell, Alicia? Like, after watching that episode,
you don't even understand, because it's just all too real. I've been in some very uncomfortable positions over the years, and I always say I am so grateful to have my MLW locker room and brotherhood, because I have never felt safer around that amount of people ever in wrestling. So I'm so grateful for that. But that episode was so eye-opening, and I hope it was for a lot of other people too who might not be as familiar with what happens behind the scenes. And of course, things have changed a little bit and gotten better, but yeah, we deal with some crazy stuff. And I'm very happy I wasn't there, because I've been in locker rooms from hell. I've been in arenas from hell, and it's it can be really crappy. So it was a lot watching that episode. And again, don't know which parts completely were true. I do know afterwards there was some fact checking and people were like this or that, but
right.
You just hear stories, and unfortunately majority of it is true. So it's
it's crazy, right? I mean,
crazy.
You being a young woman in the pro wrestling business, I'm sure have never seen anything wild, right? I mean, but there's still some cleaning up to some cleaning up to do in the business, and yeah, I'm happy they did it. I'm surprised nobody wound up in a river or something after that episode. I feel like Vince is going on the warpath after something like that. So anyway.
Yeah, it was hard to watch, but at the same time, I love documentaries. So just putting aside the fact that I've met many of those men, the fact that I have worked with a lot of them, the fact that it's just all that happened within the span of however many hours. It's just it was wild. But I love a good documentary. So at the same time, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It was done really, really well.
Well, Court also made some news on the MLW media call earlier today, talking about the women's division. He said that,
Yes.
he's not just looking to do a women's division. He wants to do like a major league women's wrestling federation. I don't know if you were aware of that being his intention or not, but what are your thoughts on Court, trying to not just create this women's division, but create a whole women's show is what it looks like he wants to do.
I think it's awesome. I know that this is something MLW has wanted for a really long time, and we had kind of teased it a while back, and then the pandemic happened. It just made no sense to launch a whole new brand when at the time you could barely run shows in itself. So I know that we had a little bit of a just fallback in terms of that, and it was completely out of our hands. So the fact that we are back, it's live shows, fans are there, and now we have all of these super cool females in our locker room who I've had the pleasure of knowing for years, working at like Shimmer and Rise, having Dave in the back who have known these women for so long. It's just, he's a wealth of knowledge, and I got to work with him doing those Shimmer and Rise shows, and it's amazing. So, I always say I don't care what you are, like male, female, whatever you believe in. I don't care. If you can wrestle and you're good, I'm gonna watch you and I'm gonna appreciate you, like appreciate the hell out of you. And these females can wrestle. There was one match that just blew me away at those last tapings, and I can't wait for everyone to watch it. I'm completely all for it.
Are there any particular women you'd like to see MLW bring in that you'd walk in the locker room?
Okay, so someone who's been absolutely crushing it as of late is Lady Frost. Like, I've known her for a minute, and she's just a very good soul, and I'd like to get to know her more. So I think bringing her in would be really fun. Someone I did want them to bring in was actually Holidead, and they did. So that was amazing. Yep. So that was, check off the list. Super. I've known her for forever. Who else would be super exciting to see? There's so many names I could throw around. It's wild. Ray Lynn, I think, would be such a fun addition. She is just a little spark of energy, and I would love to see her. Who else? High-End would be really cool to see in there. I could go on and on. There's just so much talent out there that deserves a spotlight, and now we have this new platform to give that. So I know I'm just looking forward to the announcements. I've been texting Court like, hey, what's new? What's up? So yeah, I'm excited.
I'm glad that your bench that you chose from is just like all the women that do Warrior Wrestling, which is over my shoulder right now. I'm just saying, like, that's really, you have really good taste. Although I was like, yeah, Lady Frost, man, I'm all about it. That's bring them in. But what about you, Alicia? I see you're a wrestler now. I'd be remiss.
I'm not.
I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that, like, I guess you're wrestling now these days, or no?
Okay, so I think it was you I told in an interview, like, I will never wrestle, and I've said it multiple times. It got to the point where Selena De Laurenta and I had caused such a crazy fuss online, and we thought, what do we bring this to? Like, how do we settle our differences? So we decided to have a pay-per-view on our page, which did incredibly well. And a lot of people thought when we announced this, oh, there's going to be no moves. It's going to be just like cheap gear, if gear at all, bra and panties matches, blah, blah, blah. And we're like, no. We did entrances. I had gear done for it. Like, we went all out. She taught me moves. I was bruised all over. I still can't sit properly because I bruised my tailbone. It's been a week and a half. Like, it was serious. Like, I wrestled. But at the same time, as much fun as it was, I am not cut out for this at all. I'm a baby. I bruise like a peach. I hurt for way too long. I have this skin disease where I feel like you scratch me or I bruise, it like gets really, really big and it just won't go away for weeks and weeks. It just doesn't make sense for me. So, it was fun. We might do it in the future as like a monthly thing, just her and I, but by no means am I taking wrestling bookings or anything. So I would not call myself a wrestler. However, I have wrestled.
Okay. You found your opponent. You're not looking for no Alicia Atout in MLW's women's division. Maybe as a manager or something, but not.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I would love that, but I'll slap some people around for sure. Some people deserve it, but in terms of wrestling them, probably not.
It's really painful falling down. Like really painful. Yeah, it's terrible. Oh my God. Yeah. I only did it a couple of times. My neck is still weird to this day,
Right? I'm afraid, like, I'm going to call the doctor in a couple of days when my tailbone doesn't heal up because I literally, like, can't sit properly. It is horrible. And every time you sneeze or cough, like, it sucks. It sucks.
Well, one thing I want to ask you about, I know you guys talk about a lot of stuff in and around MLW and the rest of the wrestling universe. I don't know if it's addressed or not, but there were those reports about WWE and MLW possibly working together. I mean,
right.
Are you open to that idea? Like, what do you think of MLW possibly having a relationship like that?
I am open with us working with anybody because honestly, it just means another door opens. It's more exposure, it's different talent. So, regardless of how small or how big the promotion might be in the future, because I know that there's just talks constantly going on. Like court just never stops with meetings. It's amazing. So, yeah, I'd be completely open to that. I mean, what an opportunity. Who would say no to that? And if something like that happens in the future, I can only see positivity from it. You'll have your marks online being like, oh, selling out. They're now bringing in the big guy. It's like, shut up. You watch those big guys. Like, you be quiet. So I'm all for it. I think it would be a blast being able to team up with someone like that and just shed even more light on MLW because it's such a good brand.
Man, it's like I don't know like whose side Jacob Fatu would be on. Like, does he take the easy out and like follow Roman? I think it's more admirable to stand up and like not join the bloodline. That's where my brain
True.
goes.
Yeah, that's hilarious because a lot of people are super close with a lot of people in WWE, or like you just mentioned, they have like family ties to it. So it's like, ooh, what would happen? What would go down? He better stay loyal to us.
Yeah.
Come on now. He better.
And like that's the thing is we're talked a lot about loyalty on the media call earlier and rewarding people that have been loyal to the company, people like you,
Yeah.
Hammerstone, Fatu. I mean, you're really kind of, you're becoming one of the more tenured people there, and really, your role I know has grown a lot in your time there, and I think this is gonna be a long haul type thing for you, Alicia.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things where court really does mean what he says. I've met a lot of people in wrestling who say, "Hey, we want to make a star out of you. We want to do this. We want to do that," and then they just never come through on anything, or they're just not willing to put in the work. But when it comes to him, he's so open to ideas. He's always pitching something new, and I'm just really grateful that he also listens because that is a very rare thing when it comes to this industry. He's just so open to input and like I said, ideas and just continuing to always grow and he told me from the start, he's like, we really see you as being the face of this brand. And now when I look at it, they have like two of literally our biggest wrestlers in the company and me opening the commercial on Vice TV. And that like blew my mind when I started getting texts from people saying, hey, I just saw you on television. And I'm like, it's crazy. And I'm so grateful for it. So yeah, I feel like it's only the beginning with them and a lot more is about to go down.
Rock and roll. Hey, Alicia, I want to thank
Yeah.
you so much for the time. Anything else that you want to plug, promote, put over here before we wrap up today?
I mean, if you guys are aware of me, thank you so much. If you're just learning about me, I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble. If you want to know more, just hit up Alicia Atout, Atout, in your Google boxes. There you'll find everything from my socials to my interviews, Patreon, the OnlyFans with Selena De La Renta, and of course, watch MLW. We air new episodes of Fusion every single Wednesday on our YouTube channel, and tonight there is Fightland taking place on Vice TV at 10 p.m. I'm just so excited. So many surprises. It's the debut of MLW Embedded. So, what are you waiting for? Turn your TV on, PVR it, DVR it, whatever you got, wherever you live. Watch it. A lot's about to happen.